Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Phil, and as you might know, I have recently spent a couple of months in the United States, and it was my first time. And in this video, I want to talk about the 6 best things about the US. Well, maybe it's not the best things about the US, but it's 6 things that I really loved about the United States. Number 1, the people are very friendly. And what I mean by that is the people you encounter in daily life, in the supermarkets, on the streets, on the checkouts and whatever. It seems to me that most of the people are just open for a little small talk. When you say something like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, pretty good, how's your day? And then you get into a little bit of small talk, and everybody seems to be very open to that. And I am not used to that from Europe. So in the US, I don't know if it's a superficial thing or not, but it's certainly very nice if you encounter that in your everyday life. And I think you benefit from it and makes your day a little bit nicer. One thing I talked about on our supermarket video on our main channel is that in the aisles in the supermarkets, whenever you pass a person and both of you have the shopping cart and you go across from each other, it's not even that tight, but a lot of times people even say, oh, excuse me, sorry, and it's like, wow, why do you say that? But it's totally fine. People just seem to be a little friendly. Another thing on the checkout counters or any service person that you encounter in daily life, if you go to restaurants, waiters, waitresses, cashiers, checkout people, the people that bag your stuff at the end of some supermarkets, everybody who's in these service jobs seems to be so freaking friendly. And I was, to be honest, a little thrown off by that at the beginning, but then I really kind of liked it. Like, why don't we do this? It makes everybody's daily life a little bit nicer. One thing that I always think about is these service jobs. People really seem to enjoy doing these jobs, and I always have to think, if I would stand in a kiosk for 12 hours a day, I mean, I can understand when people are a little bit grumpy at some point, but in the US, no, they always are super friendly. One time we went to some verification thing, got a stamp on something in a post office, and these people are so freaking friendly. I just feel like I just want to stay and become friends with you. Number 2, cars. Cars in the United States seem to be bigger, faster, and more affordable than here in Europe. And yes, there's a downside and an upside to bigger cars, but the thing is, the kid in you, the boy in you always wants to have the big car with the big engine, right? The V8, like vroom, vroom. Everybody plays with a Ferrari. Nobody plays with a Fiat or a Tesla. Do kids nowadays play with Tesla toys? How do they do it? They can do vroom, vroom. Like, how would they do that? Look at me, my new toy Tesla. Look how fast it is. Rum, rum. That's what boys do. I want the bicycles, I want the cars with the big engines, I want the Mustang and the pickup truck. And in the US, these bigger, extensive cars seem to be just a little bit more affordable than here in Germany. Especially the new cars. They are just cheaper. And even the German brands, the potentially better cars, I mean, that's up for debate too. BMW, Audi, Mercedes. The same cars in the US are cheaper than the ones in Germany, so it is definitely easier to get a fancy big ass car in the good old US than it is in Germany. And the second side to that, on the lower end budget, old and used cars seem to last way longer in the US, at least in the warmer climates. If a car always runs in a mild or Mediterranean climate, the engine and all these parts seem just to last longer. So there's a ton of older Toyotas and Hondas driving around, which seem to last forever, and they often hit the 200,000 miles mark easily if you maintain them properly. And that is pretty cool too, because in the US, these two big brands, Toyota and Honda, they seem to be super reliable, and the spare parts are super cheap. So you can basically get a pretty cheap, reliable car if you just in it for the transportation, or go with the other side, get a fancy, new, fast, big car, which is also cheaper than in Europe. And the big point that plays in the car category too are the gas prices. Gas is just so much cheaper in the US compared to Europe. If you compare it to Germany, it costs about 1/3. So the gallon in Germany would cost 3 times as much as in the US. So if you want to live that boy dream with the big V8, the Mustang, the pickup truck, the US, it's definitely easier to achieve than it is in Germany. And the third point that I love about the US is there are a couple of laws that are way more relaxed over there than they are in Europe. For example, I love electric vehicles. Am I not talking about the cars? I'm talking about scooters, the small electric scooters, then the actual scooter, like the bigger ones electric, you know what I mean? Electric skateboards, electric bicycles, all that stuff. You seem to be allowed to drive all that kind of stuff in the US almost everywhere without any complications. Whereas in Europe and especially in Germany, the laws are so strict on these scooters. All the popular models from Xiaomi and whatever are not allowed legally on the streets of Germany. They just passed these laws with the electric engines having to be very small, also for bicycles. And if you would buy one of the popular ones, the bigger ones, you would not only get a fine for driving too fast or whatever, it would be tax evasion, because if the engine exceeds the small limit, you have to register it, get a number plate, get an insurance for it, like a full-on motorized vehicle. And of course you buy an electric bike because you don't want to do that. And if you would write that, that would be tax evasion in Germany and you would get in big trouble and be fined heavily. Whereas in the US, if I ever moved to the US, I would immediately get an electronic skateboard or a one wheel. I love the one wheels, and an electric bike. I think it's just the transportation of the future, and I love these things. They seem like so much fun. Unfortunately, they are pretty expensive, but at least in the US you could drive them. Whereas in Germany, the lawmakers take all the fun out of that. Another thing in that category is off-road biking and dirt biking and all that good stuff. One thing you might know about me, I grew up racing dirt bikes, and in Germany there are just very limited options and opportunities to do so. And in the US, with that country being this big, I think there are endless amounts of opportunities where you could go and ride enduro bikes in the craziest of landscapes and environments. And it's definitely more legal than it is in Germany or Europe to just ride around your enduro dirt bike. Isn't there like this dune area somewhere in California or Oregon where they ride all kinds of buggies and dirt bikes? I always wanted to do that, ride a dirt bike in the dunes, and I never had the opportunity. Maybe in the future. The same goes for jet skis. Jet skis riding on a lake would be a huge no-no in Europe or Germany. It's just forbidden, and to ride a jet ski here, you actually need a full-on motorboat driver's license. I don't know if that's a thing in the US, just in general. I think there are lakes in the US where you're allowed to ride these things, right? And it just seems like so much fun. Another thing where the German lawmaker just takes the fun out of it. My point number 4, what I love about the United States is the landscape. And think about it, the country is so big, it's about the size of Europe, and it's all in one country. You have cold climates, you have snowy mountains, you have deserts, you have the Northwest, all the green woods where the Sasquatch lives, and then you have Florida, the Everglades. You have amazing beaches. You have beaches on the Atlantic Ocean, you have beaches on the Gulf of Mexico, you have beaches on the Pacific Ocean, you have close to the Mexican border all these dry ass hot areas. And there's just so much to discover and to see in the United States. And the positive aspect is you can do all of that without any visa or immigration hassles once you're in there, because it's all in one country. Think about it, which other country in the world is that big and has that big of a variety of different amazing landscapes? Yes, there are a couple of countries like China, probably Russia, meh, it's not that warm. But the US has warm, hot, cold, everything you want. For me personally, more of the southern, warmer climates. I'm more looking over to Florida and California. But for exploring it, I would love to see it all. I would love to go to Alaska. And there are just so many things to see. And I would love to go and just explore everything. Number 5 of the things that I love about the United States is the food options. And it's a love and hate relationship, because I really struggle eating healthy and staying away from gaining too much weight. But the food options you have in the United States are just crazy and amazing. Whatever you crave, any kind of cuisine, the US will definitely have it somewhere in reach. And there are a couple of my favorite things that I cannot really get in Europe. One big example, I just love a good burrito. And in Europe, burritos are not a big thing. We have the doner kebabs, and those are the main thing that I'm missing in the US, but aside from that, they have everything and they have good burritos everywhere. I mean, people love and hate Chipotle. Chipotle is basically my go-to spot in America if I crave a burrito. I think they're just amazing. I could eat that thing twice a day, every day. Also, always somewhere in driving distance are great burgers. There are so many. And a good like Southern barbecue, I just got introduced to that and I love it and I can't wait if I go back to try it again. Let me know where I should try it. We might go to Georgia or Florida. I heard that Texas barbecue is supposed to be pretty good. We tried it in South Carolina and that was just amazing. I want to do that again. And those things are basically harder to find in Europe. We have a more limited variety. We have good stuff too, but in the US it's just whatever you crave is there. Another point of that is the supermarkets. The supermarkets in the US, compared to Germany at least, are just on another level. They're way bigger, and with that comes that the variety, what they have there is just way, way bigger. They cater to all kinds of new dietary requirements. Whatever you're looking for, it will be somewhere in a supermarket. And if it's not in this humongous Walmart or whatever, you just go across the street and there's a Target or a Costco or a Publix or a Bilo, or I don't know how many brands there are, but there are so many huge supermarkets. The variety is awesome. I like them way more than the ones in Germany or Europe in general. Yeah, the food options in the US are just better. They're just better, but with that comes the downside. I'm such a sucker for food. I have a very hard time not overeating in the US. But to train it all off, my point number 6, what I love about the US is sports. And what I mean by that is I think the US just puts more importance on sports at any point of your life. It starts from kindergarten to elementary school, middle school, high school. Sports always seems to play a big part in an American's life. For example, if you are from the US and listening to this and you think, what's the difference? And you think in high school, having all these sports teams competing on a high school level, then later on you go to college, you compete in a college level in football, in basketball, wrestling, all that stuff. We do not have that in Germany. Sports is so not on the curriculum. It is ridiculous. We have 2 periods of physical education a week, meaning 1.5 hours with like all the locker room stuff. Let's say it's 1 hour. It's really only 1 hour of actual sports a week. And you just have to be there, participate a little bit, and then you get a pass. The system does not teach you the importance of physical activity from an early age. In the US, it's way more apparent to kids and in their minds that sports play a big role. And I think that's something we're definitely missing here in Europe. And in the US, the sports system and all kinds of aspects in life just seems to be better. So I think the US just values sports way more than we do in Germany. Also, what I always said even before I went to the US, in the US you have way cooler sports. And yeah, we might have the same sports, but the big ones are cooler than the big ones in Germany. For example, you have American football, huge. You have basketball, freaking amazing to watch. You have baseball, pretty cool sport too. Wrestling is a big thing in the US, whereas in Germany there is absolutely no martial arts that is popular. Nobody cares about that. And I think wrestling and other martial arts are just bigger in the US. I think that's great, that's amazing. I got into martial arts in my early 20s and I love that stuff. MMA is one of my favorite sports in the world, and it's unfortunate that what they offer in Germany is so limited, and I think we're just missing out. Though the sports in the US are cooler, all that people watch in Germany is soccer. In my mind, one of the most boring sports ever. Another one is Formula One. Have you seen that? It's like the most boring racing series in the world. Sorry if you like it. Another sport that I've been watching from the US since I've been a child is AMA Supercross. I grew up riding dirt bikes and I always watch the AMA Supercross series, and I'm watching it right now again. Go Ken Roczen, by the way. I think Supercross racing and mixed martial arts, those are my two favorite sports in the world, and Germany just watches soccer and Formula One. Alright, so those were my 6 things that I really love about the US. I think those are amazing points that are important to me and that I noticed are just better in the US. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know if you know any other points that you love about the US, or if you maybe do not agree with me. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!